Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Soul-Centered CEO Show. I'm so excited to be joined for this week's episode by the beautiful and magical Meaghon Alton. Welcome, Meaghon. So glad.
Thank you.
I know that we've just been in circles with each other for such a long time. We have so many dear friends that are mutual, but we haven't been able to spend a huge amount of time yet. So I'm just thrilled to be with you this week and have you here on the show with us to share a little bit about, just what you've been creating in the world, what your journey has been to becoming a soul-centered CEO. And I'm so excited to share that you've also been, you just recently did a beautiful intuitive reading for the year, right? So for those of you that are listening and new to Meaghan's world, she helps leaders find the confidence and clarity to live life on their own terms and to contribute in a way that honors their values, their priorities, and the truth of who they are. And I love that so much, the truth of who they are. As an intuitive strategist and numerology queen, Meaghan helps you access the codes and the patterns you were born with so you can leverage your magic, your gifts, and truly own your contribution and impact. To unveil your truth so it is deeply felt by those around you. I mean, what a beautiful path. And I'm so excited to maybe have you share with us a little bit, Meaghan, about how you found your way here, right? How did you find your way to numerology? And I'm just curious, and I think everyone's always curious about this, the backstory of how we have created these beautiful soul-centered lives. And I'd love for you to take a minute to share with us what that looked like for you.
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. I think my story is kind of funny, so I love sharing it. I know. I actually have a business degree and a master's degree in economics. I've always loved numbers and I've always been very academically focused. And, I started off being really obsessed with numbers in business as a child. Really wanting to learn to understand money at a really young age. I remember as a kid when all other kids were playing dress up and whatever else, I made my sisters play bank with me where I would be the bank teller. And do you remember those deposit slips back in the day with the carbon copies? So that's what we did when we were growing up. And because I was the oldest, I made my sisters play that game with me and we had so much fun. But I grew up really craving to understand business and money through the lens of I want freedom and independence in my life. And I, at the time, believed that freedom and independence came from being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, and understanding how money worked. And I still believe that, but it was an interesting journey. So after I finished my master's degree in economics, I worked for the provincial government in Canada, and I did revenue forecasting. So I looked at patterns of numbers to predict revenue for the province. And as years went on, I decided I wanted to start my own business, and I started working as a consultant and a business coach. And so I was coaching small business clients. And I started to realize that I would have access to information for my clients and about my clients that I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. And this was the first time I really started to understand, there is something larger at play here than what my logical brain wants me to think. And so I really started delving deep into trying to understand, what is intuition? How does it even work? How do people have it, not have it, get it, not get it? What is it? And so I started studying a bunch of different modalities. And when I came across numerology, something clicked for me because it is math. It is ancient. The founding father of numerology is also one of the founding fathers of math. So I really, really loved the science behind it. And so I delved into it. And what I really came to realize was it's the structure of having math equations and formulas that are simple, they're not complicated, that gives us a foundation and a sense of trust and safety where our intuition can step in and kind of color in those lines and give us a richness and a depth of information that we can really interpret and use to support our growth. And that's kind of how it came about. And as I started bringing that into my coaching practice, people would be like, what? How do you know this stuff? This is amazing. Or they would take the advice and implement it with clients and things would start to click and fall into place. And it really comes about through this concept of energetic alignment, which is not just focused on the energy that's intuitive, but it's also recognizing we have a logical brain, we have a heart center, and we have an intuitive instinct as well. And when you can align all of those, that is when you really set yourself up for growth, for success, for, whatever it is that you truly want.
Yeah. And it sounds like in not only in success, but from a place of ease and grace, right? It's like it's so much more from a flow place versus a hustle or a struggle. It just the way you layer all of those together allows it to be spacious and a lot more easeful, if you will, than normal. It sounds like.
Absolutely. And I think, one of the reasons I feel like many of us do get disconnected from our intuitive understanding of how energy works is that we get so busy and we're so scheduled back to back and we become overwhelmed. And as soon as we become overwhelmed, there's a disconnection or a disassociation from our energetic body. Our energetic body needs spaciousness, needs time, needs connection, needs to be felt, right? In order to feel safe to express. And so you're absolutely right. If we overschedule or, overplan our lives, we don't allow space for that deep connection and then the intuitive hits and the inspiration to come through.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you just recently offered a really beautiful kind of overview of what this year looks like from the numerology perspective. And I would love to hear if there are some things specifically for our listeners that they might be, you could pull from. Obviously, we want to provide the link to that because I know that that's still available. If those of you that are listening are interested in kind of getting that deeper dive into the 2021 numerology. But if there's any highlights or things that we could be aware of, I think that'd be super fun for you to share that as well.
Absolutely. I would love to. And yeah, like it's a relatively long forecast and quite detailed. So to give you guys the high level, 2021, it's really interesting because a lot of people are going to hear the contrast in what I'm saying. 2021 has a deep desire for us to experience freedom, play, and pleasure. It wants to have those in our lives, right?
I love that. How fabulous.
Right? And it's coming about in a time when many of us are feeling restricted, trapped, and held back, right? And so for a lot of people right now, the idea of pleasure and freedom and play, it almost feels a little bit inaccessible, right? Yeah. However, when we understand,
almost like irresponsible, like it would be irresponsible to be playing and having so much fun when there's so much going on, right?
Totally. And it's like, how dare I try to have fun when somebody might be suffering? Right. Well, that's not helping the suffering person or you, right? And so to recognize that, traditionally we'll often say in every challenge lies an opportunity, right? Like that's kind of an old business adage. Yep. We're in a time of challenge right now where we have, a couple of choices in front of us. One is to obsess about the challenge. Right. And the other is to recognize where the opportunities lay. Like we are being given an opportunity to completely change the way we do life, the way we do business, the way we do health, the way we do social relationships. And the 2021 energy is saying, how can you reinvent your life from a place of freedom, play, and pleasure? And can you let those be leading principles in your life? And how can you honor both yourselves and your communities by doing that? Like, how will that actually support people to have better lives if collectively we all begin to expand those energies?
And to choose that. I think that's the beautiful thing is, and it's interesting too, how that's in my own life, because I can get incredibly focused and intense and, got to save the world or I've got to do all these things, right? And I can't forget personally to really infuse pleasure and fun into my day-to-day. Do it with fun, more pleasure, and more play. And so I love that. I think I'm in line with what you're saying. So that feels really good. That's
totally exciting. In line. It's beautiful.
Well, and I think too, it's so important because to me, part of what we need to be doing is staying in our joy, in our in that higher frequency and vibration as much as we possibly can. And that comes with laughing and dancing and spending time with people that we love, and really enjoying. In your masterclass was around the idea that, and this is something that really stuck with me, is that we get to choose the feeling. Like we can decide and believe in a higher timeline or in a higher way of being. And I think by staying in that frequency of that play and pleasure, we are able to allow ourselves to choose that is what we want to create more of. And so we need to stand in that.
Absolutely. And one of the adages I live by is that the energy with which you take your actions, the energy with which you experience every day is being built in the outcomes you're creating. So if I'm building my business or building my life from a place of struggle or that this is really hard or feeling really challenged, that energy is going to be embedded in my business. So even when things lighten up, or even when, I finally hit the target, or I finally get free again, or whatever my, far ahead goal happens to be, I'm still going to have the energy of struggle embedded in my business. So if I truly want a life of freedom or expansion, or, whatever my words happen to be, I need to build my goals with that energy every single day. So it's embedded in the outcome as I create it.
I love that so much, because I think it's not just for our business, but like our relationships too, right? So what I'm hearing you say is like, well, if we believe that it's going to be hard or struggle or whatever drama, then that's what we're going to build in and infuse into our, not only our business, but also, relationship or friendship or whatever. And so I love that we can make the choice and decide from which we want to create from, and get ourselves in that place before we engage in it, right? And take action from that place as well. I love that. That sounds so fun and so much easier, much more in control of the outcome,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then it's like, and what we've been talking about so far is understanding how energy is unfolding over time universally. So all of us are in the same 2021 year right now, but we all have unique personal codes that are going to be interacting with that energy in different ways. And some of us are going to be in expansionary phases. Some of us are going to be, like a seasonal spring or something, whereas some of us are going to be more in, taking a pause, like our personal winter energy, where it's like, okay, it's taking pause, it's taking stock, it's letting the ground reset. Okay. And so you can recognize where your patterns lie within the big picture. That's where you really get to show up and kind of be in that area that this is where I'm meant to be. And even if you're in like a personal winter, let's just say, as an entrepreneur, when you do that with alignment, you're still powerfully magnetic with the work you're putting out in the world. That doesn't mean that you have to stop everything. It just means the way you go about it might shift a little bit, and we have space for that, and we can honor that. And it actually gets to often uplift some of the goals and the targets we have, whether it be, connection, whether it be time with clients, whether it be certain levels of income, or personal stuff. Like I want to, spend more time with my children, or work on some personal relationships or hobbies, like whatever. Right.
Right. I love it. And I think that what's nice about that, it's almost like permission, like you can give yourself permission to be in that personal winter phase, but still trust that you're moving forward. Not that you're falling behind, not that you should be, or you're supposed to. Like those words, anytime I hear myself say that, I'm like, whoa, wait. I'm not supposed to be doing anything other than what I'm doing in this now moment, right? And I think giving ourselves the space and the freedom and the permission is such a gift and such a blessing. And I think that because they think we should be go all the time. And what you're saying is that we all have seasons and we all have moments of when we are supposed to learn more out and expressive, if you will. And then there's also going to be seasons where we need to rest and recover more. So I think that's really beautiful. Is there anything else specific around like 2021 from a, general perspective that might be fun? Obviously, if people are interested in diving into their own personal numerology with you, is that something that's available for them to contact you directly to kind of do a deeper dive just personally?
Yeah, absolutely. I do some personal readings as well as personal forecasts and helping you understand your energy and your code. Where my main focus lies these days is helping service providers, teachers, coaches, people who are in the work of transformation understand numerology in order to help their clients grow. Because we all carry blind spots and we all carry unique gifts, and we're all given a map in how to navigate them. And so understanding your code, understanding your numbers is so powerful. And then also the ability to interpret what's happening with the people in your world, like for your clients, for your family, is really amazing because you can see where their roads are headed, why they're headed in certain ways, and how, you know, as somebody in their life, I can support them, where their blind spots might be, where they might run into issues, where they're, you know, maybe kind of paddling in the wrong direction. So I love doing the reports, and I also love giving people that level of empowerment to know, like, this is a language anyone who wants to can learn how to speak, right? There's nothing unique about it. You can learn it. It's a formula. It comes along with a level of interpretation. It can be really empowering to have that level of information.
And that's what you've really been focused on recently is like this kind of a certification or like a mastery level teaching of how they can implement this in their own life. Because that's kind of the other path that you've been on too, is working with, like you said, other practitioners that want to learn this methodology and receive a certification so they can move on and do this work with their clients, right?
Absolutely. At the end of the day, I still am deeply passionate about business. And I love how these worlds come together in numerology, because the way I teach numerology is I focus on the intuitive development as well as the business development, because one of my personal passions is that when people who understand how to be connected with both their heart and their intuition can be in business and can be leaders, we actually get to create some very powerful cultural shifts that are desperately needed. And so that is one of my personal motivations.
and mine as well. I mean, that's why we've been having this conversation, right? Is because we have the belief and the feeling that, you know, for those of us that are leaders that want to expand our business and our impact, you know, when we make more, we can give more, right? And so being able to use some of these different tools and things and resources that you've brought through, it's so lovely to be able to implement that in our path and in our journey, you know. And I love that you're passionate about that. And it's also probably why you're part of the CEO Collective, because
of course, that's why it's a total no-brainer to join.
I love that so much. And I love, you know, the creation of the community and the collaboration and the support. I think that's so needed, and will be continue to be needed, right? As the world stage changes and as business changes, and give us the opportunity to support each other and share what your message is in the world as well. So I love that so much. Is there any way that people could connect with you, Meaghan, in with ease? Like, I know that you've got the link to your the forecast. So if anyone's listening that would like to take that deep dive into that 2021, the entirety, it was a long but fascinating. It was really fascinating. Like, I want to go back and listen again just because it was so helpful. So I know we can provide the link to the listeners for that. And then maybe if they have any other questions or.
Yeah. So with the forecast, you'll also get a workbook that gives you journaling prompts by the month, so that you can really set yourself up to have mindset support you month to month as the year unfolds. And so that's one way to connect with me through my website. Also, I'm active on Instagram and Facebook. So Meaghon Alton, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm Meaghon Intuitive Strategist.
Meaghon Intuitive Strategist. I love it. Okay. Well, it's always a blessing, and I hope that that people will take advantage of that that information that you provided, because it really is a benefit. And again, making sure that we are all incorporating more freedom, play, and pleasure into 2021, even on the days that it might be hard, to keep infusing that, because we know that we're planting the seeds for what we want to create long term. So I love it. And I appreciate you being here today and spending your time sharing a little bit more about what your work is in the world. It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Haley. I appreciate it so much.
All right. And thank you all for tuning in this week. And we look forward to the next episode of the Soul Centered CEO Show.